Yes, graduates, welcome to Hard Talk Podcast with HTK. Fasten your seatbelts. Hey, users and subscribers, welcome back to another episode of Hard Talk with HTK. Yes, we are going to be discussing the recent updates on the Jayden Smith case. As you know, there is a blogger who is insistent that he has the key to solving the case because in his mind, he has already removed the family from suspicion. I listened to the interview that he conducted yesterday with Sheneque, one of the prime suspects on the Jayden Smith case. People, we are going to talk about it. Because I really and truly wonder if Sheneque even understood what she got herself into. If she even understood what was happening while she was conversing with this man. First of all, I noticed in the two recordings that were played, because it wasn't a live interview, people. There were recordings. So in the two recordings, I noticed that he never once mentioned to her that she was actually being recorded for the purpose of content in the future. Very manipulative move, one. But needless to say, both conversations that took place had very different feels, very different moods altogether. The second interview that he played with himself and Sheneque sounded very much as though they were bosom buddies, friends. Well, if a bad word, a cuss and relaxed conversation and, pally. The first interview or conversation that was recorded sounded more like the blogger that everybody respected on the case. The blogger that was hot on the trot and deep in pursuit of justice for Jayden. Every stone was unturned. Deep interrogation indeed. So while this individual was bigging up himself about the second the second recording, which was in fact the first conversation. I never know why I'm doing some back and front. Why I never start with the first conversation and move on to the second? Because the person knew that the first conversation that was had was actually the one that was of value. That was the one where he himself was not convinced that Sheneque was innocent. And in that, he asked pertinent questions, he pressed for facts, and he tried to clarify. The second one, the way it no register, because nothing of importance never gets said, may just dismiss it, because it just sound like two people I try to love up their one another. And we're not into the ego stroking thing when it comes to the case of Jayden Smith. But anyway, YouTube has this wonderful thing called a transcript. So before I go and play anybody else's content, because this is my page, I have the benefit of being able to refer to the transcript in order to keep things up to date and real time when I am analyzing. So I have the screenshots here on my phone. We're going to go through some of the key things that Sheneque actually said, right? So she claimed that she landed in Montego Bay sometime after 2. That I noticed when now let me tell you something. The trained ear is different from the ear of the people who are what you would call laymen in the street who don't really understand about media and technology. Why did this blogger edit out the information where Sheneque clearly said who picked her up at the airport is the first question I have to ask. If you revisit timestamp 3408, you will listen to Sheneque speaking about her landing in Montego Bay after 2. Then you will hear an editing sound. And then she would go, yes, he's the one that picked me up from the airport. That information has been removed from public perception. We have not heard who picked her up from the airport. Why was that information removed from the conversation or kept secret? Because she clearly said who picked her up, but the blogger chose to delete that. Maybe it was Sheneque's request to keep that out of the public hearing, but I do find it very strange that this part of the information was deliberately kept back or withheld from the public, because it is key in terms of confirming her actual timings to know who it is that was the witness to this collection. So anyway, she then went on to say that she did get to Mandeville and that she used her phone as a GPS to get to the Mandeville hospital. But she, of course, stopped at the KFC. She claimed that she got into Mandeville sometime after 6 on Friday evening. Now, remember, there is this whole discrepancy about Mr. T and Mr. T's timings, right? Now, this blogger proceeds to clarify on behalf of Sheneque to say her phone, in fact, did not update to Jamaica time. That the phone was saying the time back in the States. So it was an hour in advance. So when she's saying 6 is 5. So he is claiming that it's after 5 she get into Mandeville, right? She got into Mandeville after 5, not after 6, but she is referring to her phone. Now, interestingly, you're trying to tell me that she never picked up on that? And that even in recounting the story, she is unable to know how many months on clarify that I thought it was that time, but it was actually after 5 because I later realized that my phone had not updated. Very interesting that in this discussion, she's not able to pick up on this fact, according to the blogger, who is clarifying on Sheneque's behalf. But anyway, so that was the first in terms of confirming her arrival time and her movements, and that she was in fact picked up by this anonymous individual, or the person who the blogger has chosen to keep anonymous. So anyway, she went on to speak about the fact that the family members had arrived something close to 8 p.m. when they discovered that Jayden Smith did not come home. Now, when the aunts had made that report, that interview, that was all across the media, talking about when she realized that Jayden was missing, she gave the time as after 6. So it's like bare confusion. You understand? But anyway, the blogger is confirming that it is after 8 that such things took place. That they reached home 8 p.m. Jamaica time. And that's when they noticed that the little boy, Jayden Smith, was not missing. And they started to make calls immediately. He is insisting on talking about the time stamp and the amount of time that would have facilitated a crime being committed on that night by Sheneque. He's missing the point. Because I do not understand where this argument came from that Jayden Smith was murdered on Friday night. Where is this argument coming from that he keeps on pushing? Absolutely no blogger of integrity or common sense has made any statement to say that Jayden Smith was taken out of this world on the Friday night. Not when there were multiple sightings of Jayden declared by Principal Gabriel. Please, can somebody explain to me why it is that this blogger insists on corrupting the Jayden Smith case with this narrative that has come out of nowhere? As far as I'm concerned, this narrative has come straight from his platform. Because who the hell said that this girl had the time to land in the country, commit a crime, go back, go KFC, commit a crime, go to hospital, look after baby, etc., on the same night? Who said that? Where is this argument coming from? Because all he's doing is preaching to the converted. Everybody already has an idea that would be far-fetched. Not impossible, because we all know that things can be arranged, but far-fetched for her physically to actually commit. You understand? Remember, we were following Mr. T's timeline and it completely confused us because he kept talking about the fact that he saw her in the morning on the Friday and he saw her in the afternoon. He said he saw her in the morning and the afternoon of the Friday. So when we did the research, we said there's no way she could have landed at Friday morning based on the flight timings and what time they land in Montego Bay. Right? We did a whole research on that and said, well then, if Mr. T's timeline is correct, she would have had to have arrived from Thursday night. Throughout this interview, as in the first conversation only. Throughout the first conversation, Sheneque is trying to establish that Mr. T is an unwell man. And when I say unwell, I mean mentally unwell, not mad enough people. Because there's different mental issues. The fact that she claims that he suffers from some kind of memory loss. And by the way she is recounting things, she seems to be referring to long-term as opposed to short-term memory loss. He can't remember dates, times, and so on. He mixes things up. Now, the first interrogation of the blogger with Sheneque made a lot of sense. He was asking pertinent questions. How could Mr. T be under the influence of alcohol but yet give such vivid details? The fact that it was raining on the Friday morning. The fact that, she turned up there with her friend, Tammy. The fact that he was going by and he saw her. He was going to go buy some soup and he saw her over by the pharmacy section. All of these things as in crucial information when he had already done the school run and so on. She's dismissing it that she don't know, but he gets everything mixed up. Everything he spoke about did happen, but the days are wrong. That is a Saturday. Everything happened. It's Saturday morning him see her when she was going to leave to go get food after being in the hospital all night. That it was Saturday and Saturday night and Friday night. So Mr. T is such a drunkard. Mr. T is so forgetful. Is so confused about time and days. And yet you people allow him to be collecting people's children and taking them to and from school. Wouldn't he have to know time very well in order to conduct such a service to get children to school punctually? He can't remember what days and what times he saw somebody he mixing up a whole 24-hour delay. And only really trying to tell us that for him to speak. This is what the woman saying, people. And I want you to listen to the logic of this, That Mr. T is naturally an introvert. Mr. T, who we see a blah, 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 on the news, is normally an introvert. Him don't even really talk to her. That Mr. T has to be under the influence of alcohol in order to speak. So that means that when Mr. T doesn't speak is the only time Mr. T is sober. So when he was talking to the people them on the news, him they drunk. And when him talk to L.A. Lewis, him they drunk. And everything about him that is outward only comes out when he's drunk. But you know what them often say about drunk people? Drunk people tend to talk truth under them liquor. Because liquor is like a truth serum. And everything inside erupts. Not to say that there aren't distortions of reality. But to say that somebody is so drunk that they can't tell the difference between night and day, Friday and Saturday, is insane. I have never heard of any drunken condition that do that. Never. You understand? That person would have to be so drunk that them literally can't piss straight. Excuse my language. But you know what I mean. They literally would not be able to piss straight. They wouldn't even be able to sit behind a wheel. Somebody like that, if they are stopped, they would have been driving under the influence. It would have been an instant arrest. If you are so inebriated and under the influence that you can't tell the difference between Friday and Saturday, then you're not supposed to drive up and down nobody pitney. You understand? So anyway, this is the claims that this Sheneque is making to the public. That Mr. T is somebody who cannot be trusted because he's drunk. And this blogger, he buys it out. You actually listened to that and you actually accepted it. What other evidence do you have that this man cannot be trusted? Remember, you know, Sheneque in this interview claims that she was so annoyed with Mr. T that to date it is causing difficulties in their relationship, in that they don't have a relationship anymore. They are no longer speaking. You understand? Because he said too much, he gave too much information out, even things that were not necessarily relevant to the case. And basically caused problems. So hold on. The information such as whose house you went to change at when you claim you never come with no clothes. The one in a spur tree. Remember, he said that when you turned up there and he went and he met you and he gave you the key in front of the pharmacy. That you turned up at the hospital with your friend Tammy. That is what the man's saying now. You turned up with your friend Tammy. And you and Tammy went to Spur Tree. Yet you are on this interview with this blogger, Sheneque, telling him that it was you alone who was taken by the uncle to a taxi stand. All kind of new information, people. Taken to a taxi stand so that you could get a taxi to go to Spur Tree. Removing this friend that he said you were with, and he said it's the two of you that traveled to Spur Tree together. You told this blogger that you were alone. Everything that you are saying, you are trying to contradict the things that the uncle was saying. Mr. T was saying, your stepfather. Because to me, that stepfather was the pressure point. All of you are trying to put Mr. T under the bus. Trying to make, and then she's there trying to make it look like, please don't put him under the bus, don't put him under the bus. But yet she is giving this blogger these things, these manipulative things, that is leading the blogger into pointing a finger. Listen to what she said. She continues to say that her mother was not the disciplinarian. That the disciplinarian was Mr. T, her stepfather. Daddy are the one where Morphy beats. She can only remember one time when her mother beat her. And her father used to do the beating, but that is another, and she drop it. In other words, she had tried to say that man used to bust me ass. That's what she's saying. She implied it. She go, the way him used to be, and she, anyway, like she said, that's another story, and she had drop it. That is sowing a seed. That girl was sowing seeds in your head as the blogger to lead you in the direction that she wants to lead you. She claiming she don't want to throw him under the bus, but that's exactly what she wanted to do. Because everything that she was telling you was to point fingers towards Mr. T. And to get the whole public to turn down upon Mr. T. And use him as a sacrificial lamb. Yet she was lying straight in your face and certain lies you missed. Because you kind of pick up on it and then you let it drop. When she looked at you and said that Mr. T transported her to the taxi stand to take a taxi to Spur Tree, You never question her about the key. The fact that the wife gave him the key for go to the boss yard. You not question her about which boss. You not question her about those things now. I don't know if you have further recordings because you look like, say, you snakishly record everything with this girl without she know. So me hope say you're bringing some clarity to that too. But all I am hearing is that Sheneque is the one who has been leading you like a dulcimina upon a rope to the places where she want you to go drink water. I am hearing such confusion because she is trying to say that indeed she did go to Spurtree, she did do these things, but I sat the man and this man confused. But yet the man was able to give such a vivid recount. That was the one gem you had. And you let it go. What changed between the first discussion and the second? How many more discussions did this person have with the enemy? Because until they're proven innocent, to me, they're my enemy, you know. Every single one of them, including that Gabriel. That man who is the one who kept talking about how many times Jayden Smith was seen. How does that connect to this blogger's argument? He keeps going on about the fact that Sheneque never do it. Sheneque could not have done it. Nobody can actually point. There's not enough evidence. We know that. There is not enough to hold on pan Sheneque. We know that. That is not new. Nobody said that this girl could have done anything on the Friday night to Jayden. But what about the Saturday, the Sunday, the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday when she left? What about the subsequent sightings of Jayden that the so-called Principal Gabriel insisted on? How are you not referring to that? Which means that if anything happened to Jayden, it wasn't on the Friday night. He may have absconded on the Friday. He may have been taken on the Friday. He may have been put somewhere on the Friday. But that no means say a Friday night the picnic gone from the earth. What about all other subsequent opportunities? The girl herself, Sheneque, said in the interview, the police are doing nothing. The police are doing nothing. Them hardly do nothing. How she hopes say the police would have actually sent for her to come back so she can prove her innocence and put her up on a lie detector. That's what the girl is saying, you know. So she herself know that the police, and then she's tried to backtrack and say, well, they've got so many missing children cases. And not so much missing children case in a Mandeville. We attack. It's not so many. Jayden's one is a priority. She's claiming that in terms of the steps that have been taken by the family to seek justice for Jayden, listen to this foolishness, people, where the blogger sit down pan and accept and wholeheartedly accepted that she reached out to a consultant. She had a consultation with a lawyer. And in that consultation with the lawyer, that lawyer then referred her to another lawyer who was more apt to deal with the case. That other lawyer kept putting her off, and that's how she left it. Does that sound like somebody that wants justice? Consultations are generally either cheap or free. You're not serious. Because if I really something like this you did want, why would you go to a lawyer? What lawyer going to do? Lawyer can go investigate case. But you confessed to why you wanted lawyer. You were really trying to go after the cousin. You said it. The same cousin that you messaged her and referred to Jayden as a it. Why the blogger never asked you about why you call Jayden a it in your conversations, despite you coming out here talking about how much you did love and care for Jayden and how he was a special child and how everybody loved Jayden like family and that was family? Why him never get to explain how you call Jayden an it? We have the text messages. You get lawyer for sue, for take down your picture them. And for go after, For go after the cousin, the so-called cousin is how you refer to her. When the girl break down her family tree with you, all of a sudden she's so-called cousin because you don't know her physically. And as you wanted to go for and to get down your million of pictures. I'll tell you something. There's a whole act about that. It's going to be hell for you to do that. Right? But let me tell you. Anybody who listens to Sheneque's conversation throughout this whole 2 recordings debacle can hear a girl desperately trying to clear her name. Understood. And this is not to say that the girl is necessarily the person who was hands-on in what happened to Jayden, you know. But it shows us that with the manipulation and the twisting of information that there is still something there. Them know who do them things. Them know. Them have some awareness of what took place with Jayden. The fact that she keeps talking about he is a disciplinarian. I can remember my mother beat me 1 time. She's not him. Him beats anyways. And then she try and move on. She even went and asked Demar, you sure say Daddy never beat Jayden? The way she didn't believe that he didn't beat him. So that means, say, in the family, there could potentially be a cover up. And if Mr. T is twisting up timelines, and it's because him drunk, yet she turned on and said him do have a heart to do something to Jayden, and our brother love Jayden. But then if him not have a heart for harm Jayden, but him had the disciplinarian and him beat, that not sound contradictory? That doesn't sound contradictory to you. If a person can flip and beat, because him had the disciplinarian, then him not could have beat by accident. And something take place. And the whole I want to cover it up. So whether or not Sheneque may have been hands-on, organizer, mastermind, all of that, which I still don't remove her from, that entire family still needs pressure because something happened in that house to that little boy. Something caused that little boy to run. Something resulted in it. When you're coming to talk about Jayden turning up with chocolate, and yeah, wonder if the man them, the she man them, give him chocolate and lure him away on Perth Road because there's a house with them such man there. Did the police go and investigate this house with the such man them? Did you present this information to the police? You're here presenting all of this information to a blogger on YouTube. How much of this was divulged to the police and how much of this was handled by the police? The blogger talked about him do all these investigations for big corporations and blah, 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 narcissistic. We're not into that foolishness. Come with something more than that. Because all I'm hearing is this girl twisting you around her fingers. Smooching and rubbing upon your ego because you're egotistical and because you're a narcissist. You fed right into it. She did, oh, you know, the rest are all bangarang and you're so quality. Yeah, bangarang too, brother. Don't make sure fool you. Yeah. Yeah, bangarang to him, you know. Remember how you're going with Andre, you know. No, you understand me? Have it, you know. Yeah, bangarang too. So when she's telling you that, that's just her preening your feathers and getting you to sit, boo-boo, sit and be a good boy. Because the first conversation you had with her, that was the real thing that you did. The second one was her stroking your ego and keeping you in her pockets. Go back to the first style and press little more. You understand? And get what you can get out of that girl for justice for Jayden. That may I say. Anyway, If you have made it this far into the video, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, click that bell, especially if you're new to my channel, so you're notified anytime I drop a video. This is your girl, Head Teacher K, and I'm out. Bye.